My name is Lisa Strong. I work as a research scientist and I live in the Howe neighborhood of Minneapolis. I first became concerned about the environment in 1981-1982. I was working as an intern on a Scripps Institute of Oceanography research vessel. We were running transects off the Mexican coast. We were taking temperature and salinity profile readings of the ocean depths and dragging nets for ocean life. We were doing a diversity study. The man who was running the research project had been running it for 12 years, and he said that he'd never seen the ocean dead before. We would drag for 12 hours and the nets would come up totally empty. And that's when I started to realize that there was a connection between the temperature of the ocean, the salinity and the pH of the ocean, which is related to the amount of carbon dioxide in the air, and the ability of the oceans to support life. And I started to become very concerned. I have to take action because I have observed the world around me dying. In 1982, I went to the Great Barrier Reef. I'm a scuba diver, and I observed the reef in 1982. And then in the mid-90s, I went back again. And the reef already in the mid-90s was a lot more dead than it was in the 1980s. And that's because of pH changes and temperature changes in the ocean. Now I understand over 40% of the reef is completely bleached and 100% dead. And it's spreading. How can I not take action when I know that what I'm doing is killing large parts of the earth? I have to take action. It's a moral imperative. Once I realized that human beings were responsible for the increased carbon dioxide in the air, and that was coming from our energy use, I started to make small changes. I lived in an apartment, and so it was hard. It's hard when you live in somebody else's space to make changes. But my husband and I, we would heat our water once a day. 40 gallons of water, 24/7 hot in the basement didn't make any sense to us. So when we got home from work, we would go downstairs and turn the hot water heat up, eat dinner, go back downstairs, turn it back to vacation mode, and then use up the hot water in the tank for showers, doing dishes, taking care of all the things that we needed to do. So that was the first major change that we made in our life. I don't consider any of the changes that we've made in our lifestyle to be hard or difficult. Every change that we've made has made our life actually simpler. We have only one car, which we use only several thousand miles per year. And so we don't have to worry about taking care of a car or whether or not it's going to break down. We live on one income that's only 2/3 of the median income for our area. So in addition to being a smaller footprint and easier ecologically, our life is easier because it doesn't cost as much to maintain, and it's not as cluttered, it's not as worried. So I would have to say that in the long run, these changes are not difficult for us. Being successful in changes like this depends very much on being surrounded by people who share my values. Because I have a partner who is as committed as I am to making these changes, it doesn't feel like a burden because we're not pulling in opposite directions, we're pulling together. Having friends who believe as I do makes it easier because when they come into my house, they don't say, "Oh, it's 55 degrees in here." They say, "Oh, let's move and sit next to the fireplace where it's nice and cozy." They're supporting our decisions by finding the positives in what we're doing, and they're making similar changes. I've been involved with the local transitions group for about 4 months. I discovered them recently and was very excited to find out they existed. I've already done everything that I can think of to make change in my life, and finding an additional group of people who are thinking about these issues is extremely helpful. On one hand, I can be an example and I can help people figure out how to make the changes in their lives that I've already made. But there's also the fact that I can't think of everything, and now there's this whole group of people who can help me identify new changes that I can make to help me live even smaller, and I'm very excited about that. When I think about making changes to my lifestyle and I think about how I live, I think about being accountable to the next generation. The decisions we make and the way we live right now are very important to what's happening in the near future and in generations down the line. And I want to be able to look the children in the face and say, I did the best that I could.